Hey moms, welcome to the Gather Moms podcast. My name is Kate.
And I'm Rebecca. We've created this space just for you because we're both moms and we get you.
Yes, we believe there truly ain't no hood like the motherhood, and we need to be in this together. We also believe we can't mom well without Jesus, so you're going to hear us talk about him too.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Gather Moms and make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
All right, mamas, let's jump in.
Hey moms, welcome back to the Gather Moms podcast. Y'all, today is going to be the best day ever because we have a special guest with us.
Yes,
we are in our series called Mind Your Motherhood, where we are talking through all the seasons of motherhood. And last week, Kate talked to us about raising teens. I hope that was inspiring for those of you that were ready to give up. Maybe you're like, oh, okay, I'll hang in there a little longer. But then we started thinking about who might know teens even better than a mom.
Yeah.
I think their high school teacher might.
I think so.
Because they know things that we don't know.
That's right. And they see it every day in a myriad of kids. Yes.
So we've invited one of our favorite people on the podcast today. Kelly Cavin, say hey.
Woo! Hey, everyone. Thank y'all for asking me.
We're so excited to have you. And Kelly is a teacher at a local high school here where Kate and I live. And she's actually taught lots of grades. So I want you just to give our mamas listening a little, who you're married to, how many kids, and then how long you've been a public school teacher.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I'm Kelly Cavin, and my husband Kyle and I have been married for 22 years.
Let's go.
Yes. Feels like 5 to me, probably 50 to him. We actually met in the 8th grade, so we don't really have anyone in our lives that we don't know about each other. So it's super awesome. We have 2 amazing sons. Kai is 18. He'll be 19 in May, who just finished his first semester of college.
Wow.
It went so great. Adjusting to that was not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. Listen, that's our next season. We're going to talk about launching kids. So we might have to have your advice on that.
Oh, I've learned so much. But we did it and are stronger and closer than ever before. And then we also have a sophomore, Case, who is going to be 16 March 4th.
Okay.
So he is counting down the days to not ride with mom to school anymore.
And then tell us about your life as a teacher.
So my life as a teacher, I knew from a little girl. I had an overhead projector. All my friends would come over and I would make them play school with me, my cousins that were like my sisters. And so I always felt very drawn to the younger children. And I did my student teaching. I went to Ouachita Baptist and knew I wanted to be a teacher. Did all my student teaching, kinder, first, second, had an early childhood degree. And when I was in Arkansas, came back to Texas and had to be certified and got my certification kinder to 6 and spent 19 years going back and forth from first and second and fourth. And so just learning the basics and how to teach kids a love for reading. About 10 years ago, I felt a call from the Lord that I was scared silly to step out in faith to do something different. I was so afraid of change. So long story short, I took a leap of faith, took a test, got certified, got a job at the high school, and have been teaching English for 2.5 years now.
Awesome. Okay. That's a big jump from first grade to high school.
First grade to 9th grade. And I did it.
So do you know, I taught high school Spanish for several years and then came home to be with my kids and then went and taught preschool when my kids were little. And man,
so you went down. You went the opposite.
I did. And, people would ask me, is it different? I'm like, no, it's the same. I just can't yell at these little kids, high school kids. High school kids, you can raise your voice and they have, thicker skin. These little babies, we can't raise our voice at the little babies.
They will cry. Yeah. So it's been a wild journey learning discipline techniques, learning the curriculum, learning how to help them balance their lives. And I can't wait to divulge all that today, but it's been a joy and it's I knew I was where God wanted me when
Cool.
all the things fell into place. And it's just been a really sweet season.
Neat.
Well, and I know it's where you're supposed to be because my kid's in your class. So my freshman
Oh,
boy has you. And I was like, we got the jackpot freshman year of
Aw.
high school to
I
have Miss
actually
Cavin.
pay him to say really good things to you
Whatever.
guys.
Actually, he loves
and
money. So maybe I do believe that because he will do just about anything for money. One of the things I love about you, Kelly, and I know this not just from your teaching career, but from your personal life too, and your involvement in church and with teenagers, you love the whole kid. And I think that's one of the things that as teenagers are trying to find themselves, there's parts of them that come out that probably aren't as nice as other parts. And as parents, we see some of those parts. I think as teachers, you see some of those parts. What do you think are the big issues that these teenagers are facing right now that you see in your classroom?
Yeah, I think, the things that I thought were going to be the big issues, the hot buttons in society right now were the things that made me fearful. But those are the things that they are not typically what I spend a lot of my time dealing with. It's more, I think kids today feel mental health is so talked about.
Yeah.
So in the open nowadays, and it used to be a little hidden, and now because it is so discussed and taught about, what I feel like it's doing is sometimes they feel if they're not solving a drama or they're not involved in some solution of some type, that they're addicted to that drama and that solving all the time. And so it's hard for them to just rest and be good. And
Okay. Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's like you can just be happy. You don't
Yes.
have to be like going through something to relate with people. You can just be happy. And I say all the time when kids come and open up or whatever, like, I just want you to say, like, it is well with my soul. Like, it is okay to just be well.
Yeah.
And it is okay to just be in peace today. And I think they're empathetic with one another, and I
Yes.
think they carry each other's burdens so well. And I think it's hard sometimes for them to just let it be okay, if that makes
Wow, that is
sense.
such a word. And don't you feel like, I mean, they're using all of these big words that are clinical terms that they
Hmm.
know it's kind of in their vocabulary now that may not be appropriate for the situation. Like I've heard teens say, I'm having a panic attack. And really, no, you feel overwhelmed,
Hmm.
but this isn't what we would call a panic attack,
Panic attack,
you
right,
know?
right. There's a difference.
Or I have ADHD. Well, okay, do you or are you just easily distracted?
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. They want, like, I feel like in our society, if there is something that's not comfortable, we want to label it or we want to fix it right away. And sometimes that discomfort is what makes us better.
Yeah.
And so there's not always a reason.
And
And
so
so I,
you see them bonding a lot over their troubles. I feel like that's what you're saying, of like the crisis they're
absolutely.
going through. How are you, I heard you say that you tell them, it is well with me, with my soul. Are
Hmm.
there any other ways that you're pushing them toward just, it's okay to be okay? Is that just language, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I think I even had an example of a girl even just today who was telling me about breaking up with a boyfriend. And, they want to talk about these things all the time and get advice. And I love that part of my job. Um, but I think identity, like, who are you apart from that person or apart from the struggle? I think they're really trying to piece that together. Who am I? And I think probably in a sense we all are still always
Sure.
trying to identify who we are as people. Um, and I think just listening well. And then one thing that this is just advice I received a long time ago. So this is something that I used with younger children or my own children or myself or high school children. But this is what I feel, but this is what I know.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
so
Oh, that's
separating,
good.
they
Yeah.
they want to go based on feelings. And if we're just being honest, our society, everything is done off how I feel.
Yeah.
And so they try to tap into those feelings and not logic all the time. And so I've said it so much that even Kyle will say, "Is that what you feel, or is that what you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't throw that back at
Yeah.
me. That is what, that's what I do."
Yeah.
But so this is how I feel, but what I know is it's going to be okay.
That's great, Kelly.
And
That's
this is
so
gonna
practical and such an easy thing for me as a mom. I'm thinking right now, I'm going to pick that phrase up
Yep.
and use that with my kids because it's so practical.
Yeah.
I think too, as a parent, we see parts of our kids at home that we may not see at school, and then we send them off to school. And honestly, with all the new technology advancements, I don't know how to keep up with all their assignments because they know all those things better than me. But what are you seeing as far as how parents are like interacting with what their kids are doing at school? Do you feel like parents care a lot? Do you feel like they don't care a lot? What are you seeing?
I think there's two different types, and then there's rarely one in the middle. Either extreme. One is I've been to school. I've already done school. Now you're the one in school. Go talk to your teacher and go to tutoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's funny is my students tell on their parents. Like, they told me to come to tutoring, and I said, "Well, what were they doing?" "They're looking at their phone, or something." And so it's funny, but they don't hide much coming home about teachers or coming to school about parents. They
Yeah.
tell it all. But I think I've also read, my parents were baby boomers, and I was born in 80. There's my age. So I'm kind of on that cusp of generational differences. But, our parents became the helicopter parents.
Yeah.
Where you don't have something, I'll swoop and rescue, right? Yeah. And when you need me, I'm there. And so now it's becoming, honestly, more of a snowplow. Like, I'm going to go before my child and knock down any obstacle because I don't want them to ever be uncomfortable. And it takes away some of that growth that is so necessary.
Yeah.
And my best friend growing up, she has been sharing a lot of the things that she learns in counseling. And she came to visit a while back. And something, Kai had already been at school. And so it was something between Case and I. And she cornered me in my own kitchen and she goes, "It is not your job to never let him feel uncomfortable."
Ooh.
And it was so healthy for me to be confronted like that. That is not your job. He can be uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that is hard for us mamas.
Yes.
Like, we don't want our kids to learn the hard way or be uncomfortable. And so I call the first one kind of ignorant bliss. Like, I really don't want to know what is really happening until it's something that involves me. And school is usually not a huge, let's all get involved, but then the other one is just over involvement.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to stay on my kid and make sure they do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And it beats them down so much, and they don't really ever have to learn independence.
Yep.
Do you see that in the students that you've got in your classes where some of them, like, they're waiting for mom to fix it, so they don't even try to fix it themselves?
100%. Or they need me to reassure every decision they make or everything they write or that affirmation. And it's not self-intrinsic. It's got to be, from someone else. And sometimes I go, "Did that make you feel good?" And it's funny. It's just the simple things, even when they're little. My mom and I have laughed about, when your kid gets a new outfit or something and they go to school and you're like, "Oh my gosh," if you say, "Did everybody love it?" You're teaching them to need that.
There you go.
External feedback instead. "Did you feel so confident in your outfit?" Like, it's wording.
Yeah.
And so the purpose is for them to feel confident and them to go on their own and change the world. Right. And so that, I think with school, I think sometimes we miss or confuse anxiety with just wanting to please.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that anxiety is learned, I think, accidentally,
Yes.
not on purpose. I think parents have wonderful wonderful intentions
Yeah.
and want to push their kids in positive ways. And, but I think sometimes that approval translates to anxiety.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I think I'm probably in the middle somewhere. So we use this in our school district. We use this. It's called Skyward, that we put all the teachers put all the grades in, you know. And listen, I know when some teachers filling up their grade book, because my phone just starts bing, bing, bing. Because, you know, I'm like, you know, Lydia got a grade in math. Caleb got a grade in. And I'm like, okay, friends. I had to recently go in and fix the notifications because I'm like, I don't need to get pinged every time we're putting a grade in the grade book, you know?
Listen, my kids are so scared now. They tell me ahead of time, Mom, you're probably going to get a notification on your phone that I failed a quiz in business. I promise I'm going in tomorrow. I'm going to fix it.
I'm going to redo it.
And I love the fact that he's already taking the initiative to go, I'm going to go fix it.
Yeah.
But honestly,
and that's good. That's what you want. You don't want them to redo it because you want them to do better. You want them to do it because they want to do their best.
That's great.
I love that.
I don't know if that's why he's doing that. I think he knows he's going to get in trouble.
I think it is. I think it is. He's my boy.
Yeah. Okay. So I also know that you love Jesus, and we love Jesus here on the podcast. How do you think your faith has made a difference in how you approach not only just being a mom, but being a teacher as well in the classroom?
You know what? I was going to grab a paper to read for this when I talked about my classroom today, and I want to read this that I would call just a source of encouragement spiritually at the school with me. And so it says, I've come to a frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. It's my personal approach that creates the climate. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess a tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated and a child humanized or dehumanized. Wow. And so when I get my rosters every year, I sit in every seat and pray for every kid that's going to be in that seat. And I am not perfect, and I am far from perfect. And honestly, at the end of the year, when kids write me things, and I'll see students at church, you know, here or there, and they'll talk to me about it. But one thing I always say, I want them to feel so valued. And I feel like that's what God does, is he sees every one of us and what we offer and our value and our purpose. And that's what I strive to do, is help them see who they are. And it's really easy to do that in English. It's really fun through writing for them to learn who they are and what contribution they're going to make to the world.
That's so good. I feel like what you just read could also be said, it could be the mantra of a mama. Mm-hmm. You know, that
for sure.
We have those same choices to make every day. That'd be something great for me to hang up in my office at home, of just remembering that. And I think what I'm hearing you say in the theme of why you're connecting so well with students is you are choosing to see them as human beings and not dehumanize them. I think it's very easy, especially in our homes and things, when we get busy and there's a lot going on, we can very easily dehumanize our own children, where they become either an obstacle of us, you know, getting things done quicker, or a catalyst to helping us get the things done that we need to get done. But they're not human beings. They're just either helping or hurting us, you know? And we treat them as such and forget that it's like a full human being. For me, that one of the things that means is like when my teenage son comes home and he didn't bring the trash cans in, you know, but that's like his job. You know, he's supposed to, when he sees them out there, they've been picked up as soon as he comes in. I have to make sure that the first thing I say to him isn't, hey, why didn't you bring the trash cans in? That's me dehumanizing that child, right? And just seeing him as a worker in this home. Either you're doing it or you're not. Whereas instead, if I just, when he walks in the door, I'm like, hey, how was your day? I'm so happy to see. And we have a moment to connect. Yes, the child still needs to bring the trash cans in, but he needs to know that he's valued as a human being. And I feel like I hear you saying that. And I think that's, you know, so much of why your children love you is because you see them as people.
Well, and I think too, with teens especially, they automatically assume that we're not interested in what they're interested in. And it's when I cross over and want to know about what they're going through too. What was really cool is my husband and I were just so fortunate to take a trip last week to Maui, Hawaii. And I spent all year asking kids, how was your break? How, what did you do? How was your weekend? And just building that relationship. And what I was so humbled at is on Monday, I had kids coming and saying, did you see the whales that you wanted to see?
Good.
Did you? And it was like that, and I said, you know what? I want to stop and just say, like, that's called empathy. That's building a relationship is thinking about the other person. And you didn't have to ask me that. And that's called being thoughtful. And so I think sometimes we assume that they're living these little selfish lives, but they are picking up on times to be thoughtful. And, and the cards and the words, they are sponges of character. And that's what encourages me so much.
That's
and
neat.
And like I said, I am not perfect, but one thing about when I read that, I think it's okay also to apologize. And if I have messed up at home, I am the first to apologize. I probably apologize way too many times for the same offense. And how I'm going to learn from it, how I'm going to be better. And I think we can model that for them so much.
Yeah. Because it creates a culture in your classroom or in your home of like, we say we're sorry quickly, easily, and we take ownership for our part in things that did not go well.
I think too, it's so encouraging for me as a mom because sometimes you feel like the weight is so heavy on you. Like, I've got to make sure this kid turns out okay. We forget that God has Christian people in other parts of their life that are doing the same things. And it's just so encouraging to me to know that I send my kid to school and not every teacher maybe has faith. Not every teacher maybe approaches it like you do, but that God specifically put you in that school and in that classroom. And so my kid is getting to benefit from another Christian adult teaching him the same things that I want to teach him and helping him develop that character. And I think it needs to remind us to pray for our teachers.
Yes.
Because you see them more sometimes during the day than I do. And the fact that I can know that there's like another warrior on the other side of that school door helping my kid, goodness gracious, I should be on my knees every day for you teachers, thanking God for you being in that classroom.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question, and I'm so excited to hear this because I do think, I'm around my kids, but I'm not necessarily around like everybody else's kids all the time. So I have no idea what goes on in a high school classroom. I mean, sometimes my son will tell me like funny things that happen, but tell me something that you see in your teenagers right now that just brings you joy, that makes you go, there is hope for this next generation. It's going to be okay.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. We laugh every day. I think he probably tells you the things we laugh about. A couple things, moms, if you really want to sound like you know what you're talking about, this is one thing that got her son. They do not like feet.
Right.
They do not like
the
feet.
dogs.
They call them dogs.
They don't want the dogs out. It's
so
a big
I've
deal.
already told them, when it's spring and it's warm outside, Miss Cavin's dogs are coming out and they'll be painted and cute. You don't gotta look.
Yeah.
But they are gonna come out. So that just makes me giggle, the words that they change. And I saw your game, you two ladies playing that game.
Did you know them? Did you already know them?
Could have mastered that game. I have done writing activities that say, tell me you're a teenager without saying you're a teenager. And things like, what do you think you understand better today than your parents did when they were in high school?
Yeah.
And they are so honest. And one of the things came up was about social media. There is a common theory, especially with girls, that they are judged that they like social media because they are comparing themselves to other people. But they in reality feel like it is their moms that do that more than they do. And so that shocked me silly about thinking about that they actually, one girl even told me recently, my mom thinks I do social media because I'm trying to be pretty like other girls. But it's no different when she looked at her magazines when she was younger. And I like social media because I like to learn new things. And so they look at that not as such a threat,
Okay.
maybe like
Wow.
we do.
Yeah. Interesting.
So they take social media because you hear in the news that it's leading to a lot of issues, and I believe that is also true.
Yeah.
But they also may see it just as entertainment, whereas we
good.
see it as a threat to their mental health.
Yeah.
I love what you said about learn something. My kids are always telling me things they learn on
Yeah.
social media. And
Yeah.
I never thought that was like an outlet for them to go, it's like my encyclopedia.
Well, so, and for me, like I learn things on TikTok all the time. And it's so embarrassing because people, like, I'm like, hey, did you know about blah, blah? And they're like, where did you learn that? I'm like, okay, TikTok. Okay. But I think for me, where I still ride the brakes on social is that especially with our boys, it's so easy to access images and things. To me, it's a portal for those things, so I still ride the brakes on it. And I feel like with my kiddos, and it's so interesting that the kids in your class say that because, like, I don't know, for me, it just is like, I don't know if you truly understand the danger.
I don't think they do. And that's what they look at it as entertainment.
Yeah.
And we look at it as, like you said, the word portal to things you aren't prepared to handle.
Yeah.
And that could be a whole nother episode because walking and navigating that with, our boys has been such a joy to learn through. For these kids, there really are no outcasts. They are so accepting of everyone's flaws and things that they are different and how they are wired different. And they are so less likely to judge than even a lot of adults. And that's one thing that I see that inspires me. And the other thing I would say to that, they don't do fake well at all.
Okay.
They can decipher so well between the people that care about them and the people who don't. And we talk about emotional intelligence a lot in English and how reading helps you have that. And I would say there are less pleasers in this generation than there were in mine.
Cool.
Wow.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win. We'll take that win.
Yeah. For sure.
Don't you feel, I feel like there is a sense of a little bit more of like, I guess I'm seeing, but this is middle school, and thank God, because I feel like this is not usually the case. There's a little bit more of like cheering each other on.
Yes. That's what I was going to try. I couldn't get the words out, but it's like almost that they are good with their friends succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is so cool to watch.
Yeah.
When they celebrate each other's successes, that is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
for
cool
sure.
Too.
And I think I struggle sometimes. Is it that our sensitivity to right and wrong and, like, is it that, or is it that they truly are accepting of each other?
Uh-huh.
And so there's that gray area sometimes, like I don't, navigating that.
No, I see that, but I just, I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know that anybody has been brought to Jesus by, being shunned or saying you're wrong. But sure enough, if you're like, look at you, girl, you're looking good today, that creating that environment and that kind of a relationship with someone. Yes, that's the person. And Jesus, tell me more about them. That kind of situation. And so if we're going to err on one side, let's err on celebrating each other, accepting one another. I think that's a really cool thing.
And that's what I was going to say too. Like, maturity brings more knowledge of right and wrong and how to handle those tough conversations. They're not ready to handle those tough conversations right now anyway.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can at least love one another and cheer each other on creates almost like a foundation for the truth that's going to come later as you get more mature in your relationship with Christ. So I'm all about it. Let's cheer each other on.
Yeah.
They do a really great job of that.
You are one of the biggest cheerleaders. Were you a cheerleader in high school?
I actually, you know what? True story. I tried out for cheerleader so many times and didn't make it.
Okay, this is why we're friends, because my mom told me not to try out for cheerleader because I wouldn't make it. So I never did. So you and I are meant to be cheerleaders.
My mom and dad even hired me a private lesson teacher.
Oh boy.
For
And I
cheer?
never made it. But I did play college volleyball, so it all worked out. in
Okay,
the
girl.
end.
Yes.
Not my path. It was not my path.
Well, you
I just-
are a cheerleader now.
Yeah.
You are one of the most joyful,
Yes.
kind, outgoing. I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how much joy it brings my heart to know that you love going to your classroom every day and loving on those kids. It just makes me so happy because I do think that sometimes we get, a bad rap on public school, that it's a rough spot and there's no light. And what are we doing? Our kids are going to die there. They're not. God has put some angels
Yes.
in every school. I
Yeah.
believe in every school, and you are one of them for
Yes.
us. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing with our mamas about what you see and giving us hope,
Yes.
hope for what's
Yes.
happening. We
Thanks,
love you.
Kelly.
I appreciate you asking me. And anybody who watches you two ladies knows you are so much fun. So anything you invite me to do, the answer is yes.
Thanks, sis.
And I was going to leave you with one thing when you're talking about, girl, you look so cute. You
Yeah.
know what to say on that, right?
What?
You say, ooh, girl, you ate.
Yeah, ma'am.
What?
We just talked about this. Yes.
Yes.
You ate.
Yes.
The ate
You
thing.
Yes.
ate that. You ate that
And
and,
then
left no crumbs.
If it's, you ate that and you licked the plate.
Oh, ma'am. Okay, we licked the plate because my kids told me left no crumbs. So lick the plate.
That is
I like that.
hilarious.
We're using that. Moms listening, this is your challenge to use that innocence this week. And by the grace of God, can you get the biggest cringe out of your tween or
they
teen kids?
love it. They
Yes.
act like they don't, but they love it.
Yes, I agree.
I just love you too, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your ministry to all the moms. It is not easy, and all you moms out there, you are wonderful,
That's right.
Yes,
and
Kelly.
keep it up. And teenagers they're fun.
Yeah, they are.
But
They
they
are.
are really challenging.
Yeah, they are. Okay, we love you, moms. We'll see you next time.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.